Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, with my amazing co-host, Tanya. How you doing this morning, Tanya?
I'm doing great this morning. I think I secretly love recording at this time. Like, eased into my day. I've got my coffee. I just watched the episode, everyone. So it's very fresh in my mind. And yeah, I'm just really, I don't know, I'm really excited to talk about this. I thought it was a premiere.
Me too. I can tell that you didn't watch it last night because I was messaging you and I was like, okay, I didn't get a response. I'm like, so that probably means that she hasn't watched yet. Okay, so I won't spoil anything. But I had to say that I don't know if it's just this new season excitement, but I really enjoyed this premiere. Like, it was like all the men all of a sudden became like 8 out of 10s and plus. Like, they're all really good looking. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, they were like, half of them were like not cute really at all. And I was just like so impressed by the caliber of men, it seems, so far.
The guys were attractive, more attractive than I thought. Some people surprised me based on what we thought doing the draft. And I think they ironed out some of the issues that they had even like with Katie's season in terms of like even the hosting. It feels like they kind of took that constructive criticism. And to me, Caitlin and Tayshia fit so much better this time around than the last experience. And part of it, I'm sure, is like it's not the first time they're doing it anymore and they have a little bit more experience. But I also just think they gel with Michelle better too. And that can feel way more natural amongst the three of them. So I was loving it.
Totally gel. And I'm thinking, okay, so y'all know that we love astrology here on Reality Realness. I'm thinking, so if I believe that they're both Geminis, Caitlin and Michelle. So they probably just vibe being able to communicate. And those are both signs that, like, as a sign that gets along with people, they're social butterflies. They like spreading information, chatting, and talking with lots of people. I'm almost 100% that she's a Gemini. Let me double check before someone's like, actually, she's a.
I wouldn't be surprised. She seems like a Gemini in the sense that she can kind of like adapt to different social situations and kind of like not put on a mask, but able to, just be able to easily and seamlessly like find her way in a bunch of different environments and feel like she's still confident. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So they are both Geminis. And so Tayshia is a Virgo, if I'm not mistaken, and Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So Virgo's ruled by Mercury as well as Gemini ruled by Mercury. Sometimes they don't get along, but they always want to communicate. They're ruled by the planet of communication. And so I think that just that trio of people, so Tayshia will keep them kind of grounded a little bit so they don't just go off and do like their Gemini airy things. But I think that synergy is a lot better than Katie, who is a Capricorn. So it would be more of that earthy, stable energy. So she probably gelled more with Tayshia because they're both earth signs, which is not necessarily as exciting as like fun, free-spirited Gemini. So agree with you 100%. I love the synergy between these three people. I thought it was so fun. I thought everyone looked gorgeous, and it was just I felt a really great beginning. And I feel, tell me if you agree, that with Michelle, she is so much better, in my opinion, at delivering information, at talking about her feelings, that I think that she's going to have a great season. Regardless of what happens, I think that she is going to deliver.
I feel like it could just be me feeling this way because I like her more, but it's like I believe her more when she says what she's looking for, because we know that and I don't want to just like shit on Katie constantly still because that time has passed, but it's like when she said she was looking for all these things concretely, I didn't believe it because I didn't really understand where she was coming from. With Michelle, I just like believe it more. Like she's so convicted and confident in what she's saying, and I actually buy it. So I don't know if it's just my bias or that it is more genuine and it is more authentic. But when she talked about what she was looking for, I was like, okay, this is very clear to me. And her actions in the premiere weren't her trying to be like girl boss putting on an act. It was literally just her being very direct about like what her expectations were. So I'm aware of calling it different than Katie just for the sake of it, but I do think it landed in a completely different way, and I just bought it so much more this time around.
100%. And it could also be that Michelle had a little bit more time to ease into that role. You know, she got to watch Katie's season. She got to see what works, what doesn't work. She could have her own playbook, so to speak, as to how to be the best Bachelorette she could be. She had time to bond with Tayshia and Caitlin, so she did have more time to become this role that Katie didn't really get to have. And it seems like Kaylee was like it's like trial and error with Katie, and then the real seasons with Michelle. So unfortunately, we're going to be comparing these two seasons because they were announced together. They're in the same year. But you know what? Katie did find love. And so at the end of the day, she, so far as we can tell, she has met her objectives as what she wanted to do with her season. So no matter what, I have to respect and applaud that. And hope at least the very same for Michelle. So
that's true.
Sorry, Katie Stanzo, if we do ever bring up Katie in a way that's less than favorable. It's just because it's most recent in the memory. If it was anybody else most recently, it would be like, oh my God, and they did this like this. So just putting it out there. No hard feelings, hopefully. Hi, Natalie. Thanks for being here. So this is some tea. You watched Big Brother this season, correct?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, Xavier was on this season. Do you want to know spoilers about it or no?
It doesn't matter. I probably won't. I mean, I maybe will watch it, but spoilers don't bother me.
Well, for Big Brother, I know it's kind of like you just want to watch the gameplay. So, spoiler alert, anybody that doesn't want to know about how the ending of Big Brother went, but Xavier was the winner of Big Brother this most recent season. And apparently, according to Natalie, said on Eric Curto's podcast yesterday that he was asked to be on Michelle's season of The Bachelorette, but turned it down. Now, Xavier is an extremely handsome man. He's a Taurus for you there. Well, let me show you what he looks like. He's like very good looking.
I don't know if Tauruses are compatible with each other, though.
My brother's a Taurus. He's not compatible with me.
Nice.
That is Xavier. And it's interesting because I think he was also asked to be on Love Island. I could be making this up. I know that another house guest had his bags packed and ready to go to Love Island or Big Brother, whichever kind of panned out first. And so I feel like maybe Xavier was as well, but I could be making that up. But the fact that he was almost going to be on Michelle's season, they would look good together, but I don't know if they would get along because he's kind of sorry.
Yeah, I could see how aesthetically he would very seamlessly fit in to this season for sure, because he looks like similar to some of the guys that they have on the show. So good to know this person's just been in the mix for reality TV.
Well, speaking of which, another guy that was on the season, I think I sent you the picture and you didn't react. And so I'm like, okay, I guess you're not watching Big Brother right now. This was been a while ago, but Kylan, another mixed black man that was on the season, he had photos with our girl Tara that the comments in the audience. And so it's like, they're like, she was the one that sent him his letter in head of household. Like, you know what I mean? Like she was like his best friend. And I'm like, well, how do you know her, Kylan? Like, it's just so random. And so maybe he's also in the reality TV LA bubble. It's like the new young Hollywood club is being in like reality TV in LA.
Yeah.
Hi, AJ. Thank you for being here. So Michelle gave both Joe and Ryan space to explain themselves before making a decision on what to do. Absolutely, AJ. I thought that she handled both these situations really well in a way that I didn't feel uncomfortable with how she was handling it.
Agreed.
So excited. Okay, get this comment and then we'll get into this episode because we got lots of points to dish out. Michelle doesn't seem like his type. Yeah, I agree that it doesn't seem like they would work out. Xavier described his exes in the house, and they all just said one thing in common, being white. True, or like maybe he did like Alyssa, who was half Hispanic, I think Puerto Rican, so he likes that side of the flavor. But Michelle's gorgeous and fun, and I think he was a basketball player, so they might have bonded on that.
Don't know anything about his personality, so can't speak to that. But if that is the case, then she's dodged a bullet potentially. So
exactly, I don't think he would have made it as far as winning $750,000.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into this episode. School is out for summer. Bring on the men. Even that, I'm sorry, Katie, but the opening scenes and just like all that B-roll and staring out into whatever, nothing land. Like I didn't feel like it was put off. Like I know that Katie was probably doing a little bit of like acting awkward because it is a little bit awkward. So it was a little bit, phoned in, put on. But I enjoyed Michelle's like standing and her voiceovers and like even the cheesiness of it all. Like, how did you feel about the introduction of Michelle's vibe?
I think she comes across super well. Like she's a really strong choice for a lead because she just does have like a natural just maturity and grace and like just chillness to her as well. Like it doesn't feel like she is playing up anything about her personality, and like even diving into her family stuff, it was just all very natural. So maybe that's just how well and formulaically they're able to put this show together now. But I do think like if you have some gravitas as a lead, you can't buy that, right? It's like there's certain people that just possess, we've talked about this so many times before, that just have that quality. And she just has that quality where she's able to carry that. And it doesn't feel like it's pushed in the way that it is with some people. And ironically, or not ironically, I think Tayshia and Caitlin are also those types of people. I think Rachel Lindsay's that kind of person. Whereas you have had some other bachelorettes in the past that I don't think have necessarily naturally that kind of weight. Like thinking in my mind, like not just Katie, but even thinking of like a Desiree or like, some of those in-between people who are lovely, but like they just don't have that same star quality, I guess, is what I'm looking for. So I think Michelle carries that really well. And whatever styling choice they made, is this Carrie Fetman or did they change the stylist because she looks way better? The styling in general, I felt was way better, and with the hosts as well too. Maybe because they're both rocking dark hair this season too, that it just like aesthetically all gels together. But I just thought it all felt very Bachelorette, but it felt very elevated and very well put together.
Totally agree. I totally agree. I even loved the segment with her students, with her teaching in front of the classroom. And I was like, this is lovely. So I think I thought anyways, she was a grade 3 teacher, but it seems as though it was grade 5 that she was teaching for that segment. So maybe she has a couple of classes. But her students were lovely. And I love them giving her advice. It was a great beginning. I was all smiles the whole time. And her parents, they showed us her parents again, who were hit on when she was on the Matt season. Everybody loved her dad and her family, and I loved them again. They were just so sweet. How her mom was talking about how her father is and how much she loves him and how he's her rock, and that she wants Michelle to find what she's found in her dad. And so I love seeing that as well.
They've been together for 33 years, I think, is what it was. So that's like really like an inspiring thing. If you've grown up in that scenario, I can see why you'd be looking to kind of emulate that. And it's really nice also, like in a show that so clearly plays people's traumas for entertainment and for scandal. It's nice that there was just like a wholesome and like genuinely good childhood experience that she had that's informed like her perspective on love, because it doesn't always have to be pulling out someone's most traumatic tales to play for the audience here. So I also kind of appreciated that, where it's like we're not even tinging this in any way with some kind of like past bad thing that's happened, or at least not yet. And instead it's just a positive love story that she's looking up to in her own family life. So I was like, great. Love it.
Me too. And driving up in that red convertible Porsche, I was like, that looks good on you. You should see if that could be put in your contract, because I don't even really like a Porsche, but she looked really good in that car. So I was like, yes, drive that Porsche. So that's exactly what I wrote. We already mentioned it, but Tayshia and Caitlyn seem to vibe with Michelle. Like,
Yeah.
they just really did, and I'm excited to see more of that dynamic. I agree. They probably are fitting in, feeling the role a little bit more. They're probably feeling they can have a little bit more creative license with the role. They've probably watched it back and see like, oh, hey, we should do this, we shouldn't do this. So they had time to do a little bit of editing and just morphing and changing. So if it's going to be that these two ladies do the women's seasons, that's fine by me. And if they want to have Jesse Palmer to do the male seasons, it's fine by me. I think it works. I wouldn't have minded to see, at least for one season, the dynamic with Tayshia and Caitlyn with a gentleman. But if this is what the way that the direction they want to go, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not really looking forward to the alternate option. So yeah, I'd much rather watch these two. And I know it's like not fair because I'm not giving Jesse a chance, but I just know it's not my cup of tea. You know, it's just not.
I mean, he might be funny.
No. Whatever.
All right, so let's start giving out some points. Okay, so we're going to give some points for packages. So if you got a package in this episode, you're going to get 5 points. So I prematurely, when I was like, I messaged you and I'm like, oh, I think you're going to win this draft again. I kind of prematurely thought that like more of my people went home, but it's actually more even than I thought it was. Yeah. And I think I got a decent amount of points. I didn't add them up yet, but it seems like there's not too big of a discrepancy here.
No. When you said that to me, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I just watched the episode and I was like, I don't think it's that much of a runaway at this point. I think it's...
Well, with the trailer at the end, I was like, I feel like a lot of those people in that trailer are your people. So that's kind of where that kind of tied in. But when I actually started counting points, I was like, okay, the points so far this episode's not so bad. Okay, so first package that we got today was Chris, 28. He's the blonde man, Southern California, or Southern gentleman from LA. What did I write? Eyebrows.
He's getting his brows waxed.
Oh, waxed. I was like, why am I writing that down? He's a goofy mama's boy, and he wears his heart on his shoulder. Have you heard of that saying before?
No. You know who he really reminds me of? Mike the Miz.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like that kind of like goofy. They don't look exactly the same, but they do look a little bit similar. And it's just like that kind of energy that I was getting from him. Who was really reminding me of the Miz in some ways. And I like the Miz. I don't know that I loved Chris, but I didn't hate him either.
I definitely liked Chris more than when we did our cast assessment.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't mind this guy. He might be, I don't know if he's going to win her heart, but he's okay. Like, he's not too bad. So 5 points goes to me for that guy. Next is Joe, who is your guy, who I'm like, damn it, why didn't I pick Joe? I should have picked, I messed up. I did have the opportunity to pick him, and I should have. But we wanted this to be a fair podcast, right? So we let you have Joe. We know he's extremely handsome, graduated the same year as Michelle, Minnesota. He's from Minnesota. He's very good looking.
Yeah, he's super attractive for sure. And then as we've learned over the course of the episode, they have previously interacted in the DMs, which I think will be an interesting development through however long Joe stays, because it's clear she's attracted to him, definitely. Yeah. And even in spite of that, which we'll get into, still has interest. So I think this could be a really good pick long-term for me. I'm just wondering how long Joe will last, because I don't know if that will be able to be gotten past, I guess. I don't know if those red flags are going to come back up for her. But yeah, good match.
I want to see what goes on with this guy here. And just so we can be reminded, so Joe is a Gemini. So there's going to be some compatibility there. And Chris was a Libra, so there will also be compatibility there. Next up is Clayton. I'm still unsure as to why they have announced him so early. I mean, I like Clayton, but there's something underwhelming about him now that I know that he's been not announced by ABC, and Caitlyn's playing coy like, oh, if he's the Bachelor. Like, we all know he's the Bachelor. We've seen his women. Like, it's on like Us Weekly, basically. Like, it's a thing. I think even Jesse announced it.
I think it's definitely to their detriment to have announced him prior to the season airing, because it does set us up to be disappointed by him. Now, I'm holding that it's been one episode and that I'm sure things will develop. We do see footage of him in the trailer, of course, on a date with Michelle, and there will obviously be more development of Clayton, and he will surely be edited in a way that presents him as someone probably has gotten their heart broken by Michelle and is looking for love. So I know we're going to be led to feel positively about him, but I just was very underwhelmed by him. Like, I don't know. It's not like he did anything wrong. I just didn't get any type of like Bachelor shine from this guy at all.
Well, like, not to jump ahead, but in his intro package, you know, he's a mama's boy, or his mom is a teacher. He loves his mom. The mom talks to, you know, Michelle in the actual package. So I was like, okay, but I did find that he had a charm when he came out of the limo. There was an energy about him that I was like, I took notice of him. So maybe that is something that swells and gets a little bit bigger as the season goes on. He was really nervous, obviously, when he came out of the limo, and like that whole bit I didn't care for. But when he first came out, he did seem quite strapping to me, and so I could see maybe that was like to some of these women that cast the show, you know. So hi, Dabu, thanks for being here. I can't help but focus on Clayton announcing he's the Bachelor so early. Well, wasn't a good idea. 100%, Dabu. 100%. We're not.
It's hard to say what it would be like alternately, because now I'm just like, what would we think of him if he wasn't announced? Like, it's impossible to know because we already know. So I'm just like, like, how would if I didn't know this information, how would he have come across to me? I think I would actually have maybe liked him more. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Exactly. Like, now we're just like, oh, okay, let's see why they wanted him as the Bachelor like so early. And why do they need? I need to understand why they needed to announce it so early.
Yeah, like, I think they're just trying something. I think they're really just trying to gain back some of the following that they may have lost, and this is a way for them to, even in the midst of this season, regain a following of people who maybe tuned out as the show got too progressive for their liking, even though it's still like not a progressive show in so many ways. But I think it's a way of trying to get back that viewership for sure.
So another one of your guys, Mr. Brandon J, is up next. I found that he kind of looks like The Rock a little bit. In his intro packages, I believe he was wearing like a black turtleneck, and he kind of like is the same complexion as The Rock with like kind of curly hair. Do you know the pictures I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know which picture you're talking about. I don't see the similarity, but maybe it's because he's like so much younger looking. Brandon J is my surprise of the episode, to be honest. When I picked him in the draft, I didn't really know what direction he was gonna present on the show, and he was very middle of the road to me. But then, like, even in this intro package, kind of getting that insight that he like had to raise his brother growing up was already quite surprising to me. And I think like maybe some of that young like feistiness is maybe his wall that he puts up to kind of like deal with things a little bit more. But he really surprised me, and I think might actually be like more relevant than I realized when I selected him. So I was pleasantly surprised by him.
Yeah. To me, this is what like the whole time I couldn't unsee it. That is what Brandon J looks like to me. He's obviously very, very cute. He did come across a bit young to me. I do agree with you. Like I was quite wowed by the fact that he took care of his brother growing up. But there's an Aaron quality to him. Like he looks really young and kind of acts a little bit young. Um, and so I don't know. So there's a similarity with his demeanor and temperament as your guy Aaron. So I'm wondering if he's going to bring in the sound bites and the, I don't think he's going to be fighting like Aaron was, but he might be funny like Aaron was, because it seems like he talked a lot this episode.
There can only be one Aaron.
Only one. All right, so that's your guy as well. And then we got one of mine. We got Nate, who we do learn is from Winnipeg. So yeah. My pick ended up being, I did pick a Canadian, so I'm happy about that. He does live now currently in Austin, Texas. He's biracial, which he recognizes. His mom is a teacher. So it seems like the theme is biracial men with moms as teachers. It seems, and basketball fans are how they were casting this season. But so far it's working, so I'm fine. I'm fine with it. He loves road trips, and Lord, he is tall.
Yeah.
He's a tall man.
He's gonna be your strongest pick, I think. I mean, obviously we know as the episode progresses, but like big finalist energy. Big finalist energy. I know it's very early, but like, let's be honest, first limo entrance, right?
I think it's first, yeah.
Yeah, like first impression rose, like that's a strong start. And historically, as I've learned from Bachelor data, these have been very good things. If they happen to you, they mean that you're a very important player in the game. And rarely does it stray from that formula. It does occasionally.
So like Matt James and Abigail, but
yeah. Well, that was because also Matt's ridiculous. But yeah, so I think this is going to be really good. Nate's going to be in it to win it, I believe.
I agree. Yay. So then we have Chris G. Is that my Chris? No, it's your Chris.
Mine.
So Chris G, oh yeah, he's the other Canadian. So when he describes himself as a speaker with a nonprofit, is a little bit different than a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And how he was speaking, I didn't want to listen to him. I felt that he was compelling with how he spoke about what he does and stuff like that. So them writing motivational speaker, I think, is just to trigger us, but I don't know if that's exactly what he does. So
like speaking to kids in your nonprofit, like speaking gig is different than like being like Tony Robbins.
Yeah, exactly. And then Tayshia and Caitlin show up to his room. Now, I know this is all producer stuff, but what do you think about the fact that Tayshia and Caitlin are going rummaging through these men's luggage and their hotel rooms?
Yeah. I mean, it's a violation of people's privacy to go through their property. I guess, like, unfortunately, when you sign up to be on this show, you give up everything, including your privacy and also like essentially everything about yourself. So I understand that. I don't love the idea, but it was very clear that this supported the Ryan discovery that plays out later on. So I think it was one thing if they're like in the room with the guys, like chatting with them and like looking at how they maintain their hotel room is one thing. Going into their personal belongings while they wait outside is another. But this is like not surprising that the show would do something like this. I thought that Caitlin and Tayshia were funny in the segment, but I wouldn't appreciate my things being gone through personally.
Absolutely not. They knock next on Spencer's door, and I put a question mark. Should Spencer get, because like this is a new segment that they're kind of adding in here. Should we give Spencer some points here for opening the door and not wearing a shirt and all that stuff?
Yeah, okay. You can. If we're still doing shirtless points.
Oh, right. I didn't even think about the shirtless point. I started making a chart, but so it is a shirtless point. And I was just thinking that it is a segment, right? Like there's only 3 people that were featured in this segment. So I was like, let's give him some points. So I think Spencer's my guy. He's a Leo. Like Spencer. Ooh, am I caught up? Okay, I was frozen there for a bit, but hopefully you were able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So Spencer, yeah, not wearing a shirt. He was very organized. But even that, so I'm wondering, they only showed, I believe, 3 people. So Chris G, Spencer, and Ryan were the only people whose stuff they rummaged through. Do you think that other people might have said like, no, thank you? Or do you think that they only went to those 3 people's rooms? Like, why was this not a bigger part of the show?
I think they probably like filmed a lot of this and then they just elected to show these ones. It's kind of like B-roll. Like it's just kind of like getting some other stuff in the mix. I feel like somebody had to have known about Ryan coming in with these folders and that specifically was something that needed to be discovered. And then I think they probably just included some other ones for the lulz.
For the lulz. So we do get our intro package here with Ryan. So Ryan is 30. He has a ranch. He grew up on his ranch. He can plow a field, get that pun in there. And so Tayshia and Caitlin go into his room and they find these notes. So I don't know. Yeah. I found it to be a violation of privacy. I know it's for the show. I know that it's like because a producer
strategy with a capital S and
you did not take a screenshot of that.
Yeah, I wanted to see what the notes said, and I got 3 screenshots that include. Oh, and then also, of course, the duotang and the. Look at that Bachelorette rose. That destroyed me. That's so funny. It looks like there's like charts in here. This one's like Ryan's dream get and dating and date list that has like numbered bullet points in there. There's a reference under here. It says talk to Jackie and it's underlined. And then it says Unreal behind the scenes too, which I think is a reference to the TV show Unreal, which is killing me. Rewatch her hometowns. There's a reference on one of the pages about who to emulate from the show. And then it says Jason Tartick, not your typical. There's a Mike Johnson under there. Like there's some really detailed stuff. There's one about getting a good or a bad edit. Check the cockiness at the door. These are jokes. These are really, really silly. But the strategy took me out. That's my fave.
I mean, it's excellent. I have to also give you huge props for calling out that this guy is probably the strategy guy. I believe he is a Taurus, so you have the Taurus energy, so you kind of understand something about this organization and these spreadsheets. But when you heard that he loves a spreadsheet, when we were doing the cast assessment, you called it.
I'm genuinely surprised that was so on the money because it was truly just like, is this like what is happening here? But I can't believe that I called his sign too. I was just like, you must be. He's a low functioning version of a Taurus, by the way, people. Not all of us are this deceitful, genuinely. But yeah, ridiculous person. I could not stand him personally at all. Any capacity of this episode. He seemed completely fraudulent in his behavior, and I was very off-put by him.
I'm sure that in his Bachelor interviews, he brought those papers as like proud of it, and that's probably why they're like, make sure you bring your strategy to the show. You know what I mean? No. Like I think that they set him up.
You know what the tea is, though? So I was looking after you sent me the clip that was showing that this was going to come out, and you were like, "Oh my God, you were right." I looked at some of the Instagram stories that were on that account, and they were saying that Ryan was one of the bachelors that they had on the Bachelor Live show that they did. So I think it's very clear that producers planted this guy to be there and like that this all went down this way because he was on the Bachelor Live, and then like some girls anonymously were like giving tips that were like, I guess, part of the show were saying that like he was not appealing as a person and his behavior was ridiculous and everything. So Ryan's definitely a producer plant, or at least someone that producers knew they could manipulate and kind of use to play this out for sure.
Yeah, he could have just been like, they could have been like, hey, we just come on the show and like take the fall here. Like, I don't know how much he's aware and unaware of like, what the producers were doing, but
I'm wondering if by girlfriends giving him these notes, he just meant like producers. He knows. Like, oh man.
Imagine the producers like type things up for him. He's like, oh my friend's wife sent me these notes. Like he could have maybe sold this story a little bit, but he was just very bad at like selling it.
Yeah, like, and he was like, well, my friend's wife gave me these notes. Actually, no, it was a few people. I wrote some of the notes. It's like, okay, clarify your story, bro. You need to know what you're talking about if you're going to lie. Come on.
Absolutely. So Charlene, hi Charlene, says, Nate came as his genuine self with no props as we saw too much this season. I like him. I like Nate too. He was very cute. We're going to talk probably quite a bit about Nate in this recap here. And let's just, one other comment here. So Ada says, also some of the women that went on the Bachelor live show said that he did the same thing and had a whole checklist of the type of woman he wants. I want to hear that checklist and not be any of the qualities on it. I want that.
Truly a mess.
True. All right, so Michelle comes out of the limo and we have Tayshia and Kaitlyn waiting for her, and she looked, I thought, breathtaking. I loved her was walking over to them, like just even that whole beginning just seemed so regal. Like she just seemed, she seemed in her element, absolutely, and had that star factor that you were mentioning before. So I loved it.
Great too. The dress actually was really beautiful. I liked the styling choice of her dress a lot. I think she looked gorgeous in that.
So I decided to, and tell me if you agree. If you completely disagree, I'm okay with ditching this idea. But for any of the limo entrances that had like a half gimmick, so like not like a full costume or like something silly, I gave a 2.5. And so points. And so it's kind of like if they say like a little poem, or if like they have a little catchphrase. Not a full gimmick, but they do something to set them apart. I gave them 2.5, and then I gave 5 points for like, the costume type gimmicks. So Nate coming out of the limo says his full name, which I cannot repeat because they didn't write it all out for us. But he ends it with, it's better Nate than never, which I thought was catchy and deserved 2.5 points to me. How'd you like Nate's entrance?
Kept it casual, kept it chill, kept it real. I know producers try and push people to do some kind of gimmick or costume. I think if you manage to get away with not being just a real person,
you're probably a front runner.
Yeah, like I would enjoy that more than some people that are trying. I think the better Nate than never, while kind of lame, was still fine. Like it was like, I don't know. I think he played it just right, which is just be yourself as much as you can within the context of this show. If you're showing up in an Apple costume,
not winning.
It was like unfortunate. It's much better, I think, personally, to not have that. Though we have seen sometimes the gimmicks work out, i.e., somehow James in the box last season, for example.
It's like the winner of Bachelor in Paradise.
Yeah, my God. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my preference for the exits, is that you're just chill. And can I have a conversation with you if I'm the lead,
So when we talked a little bit about it this last season, but when Rachel Lindsay had that article that came out, she mentions that the people that get these gimmicks are who the producers don't think are going to last long or do well. I'm just thinking back. JoJo came out with that horse's head. Did she think that she was not going to do well? Because like JoJo does not look like the type of person that would not do well in, one of these shows. So I thought it was interesting.
I think they probably like identify who their potentials are that are like super, super serious contenders early on. If it is anything like Unreal, which our man Ryan here is referencing, they kind of have plotted out some potential like favorites, I guess. So I'm just like even thinking about like they would never give Greg a gimmick to do, like they knew that he was going to be someone that they wanted to last a long time. I think the same is true here of Nate. I think with JoJo, it was maybe just a case of she got pitched the option and went for it. But then it's like an extremely ridiculous gimmick. You should be like, if it's one of the most ridiculous ones, then that's like producers just being like, okay, perfect. This person's going to go ahead and do this. And we don't have high hopes for them long term.
So Romeo comes out of the limo and he speaks a little bit of French. He asking her to be his Juliet. I would have been more impressed if he did Shakespeare in French.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a lot more impressive to me. But he was more handsome in person. I love it. I love somebody that speaks a second or third or whatever language. So that was impressive to me. But I think that he could have played upon the Romeo and Juliet thing a little bit more effectively.
Yeah.
But 2.5 points for having a mini gimmick. Next we get Jack. Oh my God, Jack Russell? I don't even remember who this person is. Who's Jack?
He is not relevant. Did he stay? I'm sorry, Jack.
He's on my team. No, he didn't stay, but he is on my team.
Jack, not a favorable impression, my guy.
Ready to play tug of war with your heart? I actually don't even remember what he looks like. So let's move on. Next we have Clayton. So I got a lot of points here in the beginning. Yay. So Clayton, he brings out a meter stick and gets her to spank him on the butt, which some people are like a little bit up in arms, being like, if it was a man that did this, we would be screaming like, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was harmless. What did you think about the butt spank with the ruler?
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think that it made me feel nice. I was like, first of all, like it's not hot in any way to be like, yeah, spank me playfully with this meter stick. And then secondly, I'm like, I don't think we do this in schools anymore. So like maybe let's not reference this like practice that no longer exists.
Which people might have been traumatized by, actually.
Yeah, like I don't know, it was just odd. I get that he was coming into it not with like any type of like weird underlying intention. I think like he was genuinely just trying to play it off as like being a silly thing. So I'm not like, oh my God, I'm scandalized that they even went there with this. I just like didn't think it was a good idea.
Fair. I mean, I think it was all just playing up on the teacher thing, and they weren't really thinking big picture as to how it might come across. So yeah. I can agree with you. I wasn't personally offended in the moment, but if I look back to what that could represent and how that could be triggering, and it is a little bit inappropriate, I could say like we don't need to have it, but in the moment it didn't bother me, and I did think he was cute.
And yeah, he went with it. Like even when he got inside, he was like, well, that didn't go as well as I hoped. Like he was clearly aware that like it was supposed to land a certain way and just didn't. Which I loved, by the way. Anytime Michelle like kind of like came back at them with something that surprised them in terms of her reaction to their entrance was some of my favorite moments, in particular one that's coming up here.
So coming up, but before we get to it, so we have Jamie. I don't remember who Jamie is either.
Jamie is like one of the older guys. He's on
Jamie's your guy. Oh my God, Jamie, yeah. He's a front runner, I think. He caught her eye. I didn't really think so personally when like I saw he's like smiling a lot and like he's really taken aback by her. she felt that he had some swagger. I didn't see the swagger, but I wasn't there. So what did you find that he had swagger?
I don't know about swagger, but I definitely got like mature confidence. Like he seemed to just be comfortable being himself, which she has said is something that she's looking for, someone to be authentic. So I think I was hoping that he would be one of the mature options that would work for her. It seems like that was met. So I'm curious to see how things play out with Jamie. I don't know if he'll be a front runner, but I think there's interest there. So I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that.
I wrote down 2.5, but what did he do? I didn't write down what he actually did. Jamie, and then I didn't finish the writing a sentence.
I don't recall him doing any type of. I thought he was just like talking to her, but I
have that in limbo. But 2.5 points there. Chris, your guy Chris G says a poem, so you got 2.5 points there. Malik didn't say much. Alec, I didn't write down anything from him. Will spoke a little Spanish, so we can give 2.5 points there to me, but it was quite short. Pardeep came out, and he said his dopamine is on fire. He was very handsome in real life. He lights up more on screen, I found. He seems quite likable. I thought that was a good pick. Do you think he gets points for my dopamine is on fire?
I don't know what what do you consider to be a mini gimmick? It's
hard to say because it's not really a gimmick, but he's using words that are memorable.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Maybe it's a no. I didn't write down it really. Yeah, it's a no. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it. He could say that in any situation, and it wouldn't seem like he was doing something out of the ordinary. So it was a regular sentence. But I thought I was impressed by him, and I was like, good call, because I believe he's the first Southeast Asian man to be on the show that I can think of off the top of my head. And so I do feel that they are going to bring him through for a little bit at least, even if she's not super connected to him, or whether or not she is. I do think he'll make it a few rounds. So I think he's going to be a good pick. And I think I'm going to like him as well.
I definitely want to see more of him. I think with having that awesome career that he has, and I want to see like more of that like dorky, goofy personality that they reference in his profile. I liked him. So I hope that we see more of him, or that he gets to go on a date or something, gets to be in the mix a little bit more.
I think that he will. I do. My guy again, Chris S, comes out with a school bus.
Oh my God.
And he is wearing shorts and has a backpack. What did you think?
I loved how Michelle came back to him with a comeback for every stupid thing that he was saying. I was like, oh, she's quick. She's quick-witted.
I love quick. That's Gemini. Geminis are quick.
I love the comebacks. I felt like it really and I think that actually made his attraction even more intensified towards her, because it's something about you think you're being such a freaking smart ass with all of these references, and she was able to play ball. And I think that's if I was him, I'd be like, oh shit, she's not gonna let me just get away with being ridiculous. She's gonna challenge me. And I liked that. And I think she was really, really funny in that moment. I was like, yes, Michelle. I love it.
Oh, and I didn't mean to jump over him, but Olu was right before Chris. And he was saying he almost feels like it's the NBA draft night, and I'm hoping that I could be your number one pick. That's a gimmick, or half gimmick. So
yeah.
Liked him. Everybody vibes with her so well, I find, for the most part. So
I was hoping Olu would have a little bit more screen time this episode as my number one pick. Still feeling great about choosing him, because I do think that he is extremely attractive. Looked fantastic and seemed pretty grounded. So I'm into where he's going to go. What gives me hope is that he's in the preview featured a little bit more. So I'm hoping that he comes through more majorly as the season progresses, because I was thinking we would see a lot more of him this episode, to be honest.
Well, they had to deal with the Ryan of it all. So I think that took some screen time away from Olu. But we got some screen time with Garrett, your guy, who I feel like I was saying in another podcast, was in the chat, and I was like, he reminds me of, have you seen the Human Ken doll?
No.
So he just reminds me of him. So anyways, he said that he broke his leg, and he actually did, and he came with the cane. So I do like the cane and the limp, like, hopefully he's healing well. But let me just show you the picture
Did
of the
he
guy
actually break his foot?
maybe toe. It seems real.
Huh.
You think he was lying?
No, I don't know. I guess like he didn't really make much of an impression on me at all.
Okay, hold on.
In fact, I even forgot I chose him until you told me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, him. Yes. Okay.
Human Ken doll.
Plant Daddy, of course.
Here.
Did I forget? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, he definitely, his hair is lifted, that's for sure. But
I don't really too coiffed for me,
Did he last pass this episode? R.I.P.
R.I.P. So we're gonna give him 5 points because he had the cane, and we don't know if it's a gimmick or not. We'll just give him 5 points. This is all you're getting from him, unless he decides to come back.
Thanks, Garrett.
We got Casey up next. He's your guy as well. He's slapping her hands, which I was like, that's not fun.
Yeah.
That's not fun. If you're going to do something like that, do like a thumb war maybe, but like, I don't know.
And then I can't win because I just can't stop looking at you. I'm like, you're 36.
What's wrong with being 36 and being silly?
You know what? You're right. Let's challenge these expectations. Love that.
We have Brandon K. So one of your guys for sure, because you got both the Brandons this season with the awkward like entrance of the episode with giving her a necklace that's not even like the Mardi Gras beads. Like, I don't know. It was like huge, big baubles that he put on her neck, and he was kind of insinuating that she should flash him. And then she's like, you know what, you can have this. It was just so bad, awkward, not funny, not even Mardi Gras style beads. The delivery was off.
And actually, I think he is one of the rare exceptions of someone who may have actually looked worse on the show than he did in his photo. I was very disappointed. And here's the thing to everyone. Don't do a necklace bit. It's just not really working. Maybe there's been necklace bits in the past that have gone well, but because Bachelor in Paradise is fresh in my mind and that had a whole necklace situation.
Which was a good one, though. It landed.
Like, let's not give necklaces to anyone on these shows because it's just a tough sell. I don't know. Unless it's the most gorgeous necklace that's ever happened and not a thick chain like whatever Chasen gave.
I love that segment, though. It's so funny.
It was funny. But just like be wary of what you're doing with a necklace on these shows.
Agreed. Yeah, that wasn't great. So then we have my guy come in, Mr. Eastwood's grandson, LT,
God,
with no pants and like a speedo of a tuxedo. Tuxedo. What do you think of that call? I mean, the Kenny call of it all.
I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it, though we might have to add a pantsless points category.
Okay.
In addition to shirtless because it's something like happening more and more.
Okay, it's in.
I don't know. Like, I'm not like a prude and like it's like I'm bothered by the fact that someone's wearing a Speedo. I just don't know that that's like the first impression that I want to receive from someone.
Yeah, and you're not on the beach. Like, I mean, I know that Kenny wasn't actually naked in Bachelor in Paradise, but it makes a lot more sense for him to be naked in that environment than like at a cocktail party getting it out of a limo. And so it was a gimmick, in my opinion, that just didn't land because like it wasn't funny. And it was just so that she was like, oh my God, I don't know where to look. Like, that's the whole thing? I don't know where to look. It's just weird. So I think it was hilarious that like somebody that I chose on my team had no pants. But
and he stayed. That's the wildest thing of all. I was like, I thought he was for sure a goner, but
I was worried.
He looks like a character from Nick Kroll's sketch show. Like he literally looks like a character from Kroll show, not a specific one, just in general looks like a sketch character that Nick Kroll would create. And it would just like kept jumping out at me and I couldn't take it seriously because it almost seemed like it was not real. Like it was very, very funny that he was just existing in this way. Our yoga guru, LT.
So my shining star of the episode rolls out next, and it is Rick. Rick under the table with his head under the platter. I was very uncomfortable by this, but intrigued at the same time. What did you think about this gimmick? He committed, and I have to give some respect to that.
He committed. It's kind of like a box situation. And it worked in his favor in the sense that obviously it's quite memorable for sure, but also like he seemed much more appealing after he left the cart. Like if anything, it was like, it almost like somehow it worked to his advantage to be like, oh, you're the serving cart guy. But then like when he actually talked to her, he seemed more than that, which was good for him. But I was also very uncomfortable. Any of these like over the top, I just like wouldn't be able to.
It was so awkward. And he's like, Michelle, I want to tell you. She like puts it up, she screams, obviously, and like, I want to tell you the dinner specials. It's like so weird. It kind of reminds me of like some of these B horror movies. You know what I mean? Like I just pictured it to be like Halloween, and it's like a head that's like has like neck slices underneath there. Like it was very gimmicky, obviously. But I did die when they rolled him in to like hang out with the guys, and so he's just this floating head on a table, basically like talking to the guys like nothing's going on. And he had a few confessionals as the guy in the table.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't want to date or marry that guy most likely. But I was entertained by him, and I thought that I was impressed by his commitment and his willingness to say yes to that idea, or having that idea on his own, whichever it was.
They love a box on wheels. So
yeah. They love rolling them around and be like, nope, you can't come out until at least halfway through this.
You have to stay. You have to stay in your designated box for at least 2/3 of the night.
So your guy, Ryan, comes up with our ice cream truck. What do you think of this gimmick?
I just don't like Ryan at all.
Either.
So I mean, it's fine. I don't know. Do people like feel positively about ice cream trucks? I guess they do. It's like you hear.
I love the music. Yeah.
Ice cream. I kind of like. I find the music of an ice cream truck to be like kind of haunting and a little bit scary. Maybe I don't know where that. Maybe I'll have to figure out in therapy where that comes from. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not like, yes, an ice cream truck. Oh my God, I can't wait. Like, if anything, I'm just like, oh, there's that ice cream truck music. But I guess for many people, it is a very exciting thing to hear. So the idea is not bad. What was the connection with the ice cream truck to him, though?
Well, because she says, oh, you did your homework. So I feel as though she likes ice cream, or maybe that's like something about Michelle. And
Oh,
so
okay.
we did her homework, like, oh, let's bring the ice cream truck to her. Maybe something that she's said favorably about
Okay.
ice cream. So that is just to tie in the homework
Was that
part.
in his notes?
I believe so. Yes.
Mhm.
Because he does mention when he's confronted, like I knew that you like ice cream or something like that. I feel like he said
Yeah,
something
ice
along those lines.
cream.
Okay,
Okay.
another one of your guys comes out, Rodney, in an apple costume. So he gets 5 points for that. But
I
she
think you
asks
have
him,
one.
oh, I do? Yes, I
Mhm.
do. You're right. You're right. Um, and so she asks, like, what kind of apple are you? And I called this out at this time as well. Like, he says Granny Smith. I'm like, what are the only green apples out of the bunch? And you chose Granny Smith? Like, there's so many apples that you could have chosen, as she names later on in the episode. I was like, bad call on this, Rodney. Like, obviously she's gonna ask you what kind of apple you are. Why'd you have that prepped?
Yeah. Maybe he meant what apple was most like his personality.
Granny Smith?
I don't know. A little sweet, a little sour.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the green apple unless like I'm making green apple juice. I'm not really a fruit in my salad type person.
Ooh. Sometimes like a nice, more tart apple in a salad where you do have salty elements, I enjoy. So
I
that's
can
sort of
get behind it,
those
but
are,
like,
but I go for a red apple or a yellow apple more than a Granny Smith. Like I'm not just eating a Granny Smith apple personally.
no. I know that like sometimes I do voice work and they say like have a nice green apple so it gets those like your fluids flowing in your mouth. So that's some of the times where I have like a green apple, but for the most part, like I buy a Gala. I like Gala apples. They're my favorite, we'll say, out of the apples, and they're red. Like any apple is red other than Granny Smith, pretty much. So I was like, Rodney, like you could have done a little bit of effort there if you're going to wear that costume. Just like think of an apple. Then we have Peter, your guy, Peter. Oh, you love Peter. I was like, you are going to be salivating over Peter this season. He throws up a pizza dough and it lands on the ground. And he changes lives one slice at a time. Yeah, I give you 5 points for that because he came out with some dough and a line, so I thought that it was deserving of the full gimmick point.
He's a gimmick as a person. Like I'm living for it though as a choice. Not living for it as a compatible person for Michelle, but living for him just existing on the show. I just wrote Peter, oh my God, because that was how I felt. He was just like so high energy, which made him stand out a lot more than some of the other guys that were trying to play it cool. I don't even understand how it worked so well to his advantage in terms of the impression that he made. But thrilled that he's on my team.
I knew you'd be thrilled. I was like, this is so her type of guy. Her draft guy, anyways. So we have Daniel, the first of two firefighter men on fire trucks. So Daniel comes out in a toy fire truck, kind of scooting along. It's kind of cute, but it's a little bit like whatever. Dabu says the firefighter entrances were hilarious. Well, they were hilarious together because next after Daniel comes out, he gets 5 points. Then we have, and we'll just take a moment here for AJ. Can we talk all this time about how fine PJ is? Yes, we can spend all this time talking about how fine he is because after Daniel comes out in his little fire truck, and he's wearing his fire outfit. So like the fireman uniform, I thought that was a good add-on to the fact that he was on a toy, fire truck. But then when PJ came out of like the big fire truck, he came out like just like a man. I was like, oh my God, he was strapping hottie on a fire truck. He's a good-looking man.
Yeah. No, he's He's hot. He's something I thought that this was really funny, actually. Just because like the way they edited it too, like the little fire truck, and how long it took him to like struggle wheel himself over there. And then like he still came off like cute and like sweet. Like he's a firefighter. That's admirable. But to have the big fire truck come in and then have it also be PJ and then just like them watching it happen and being like, oh, is that the truck you came in? And he's like, no, I came in a toy truck. And then it zooms in on him holding the hat, the firefighter's hat with like a light on it. That was so jokes.
It was cute though. I do give him. It was cute. It was cute. I think the
Another firefighter.
So excited. They're like, yes, yes. Someone was like salivating that like this idea was going to land so well. Before we move too far along, though, we have to take a moment here. So Natalie loves a guy in a Speedo, but only at the beach or at home. So not LT's tuxedo Speedo, apparently.
No.
So your other Brandon here, and his gimmick is a bed. This is your guy. I said here he seems like a baby. He seems like Aaron. This is where I was first realizing like it just seems like a teenage relationship he's going to be looking for. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem adult.
I love the bed personally. Not for any type of like sexual connotation, but like I love sleeping. So this would be actually a very appealing entrance for me because I really love being in my bed. I love being in blankets and I love getting 8 hours of sleep every night because I am a Taurus and I love sleep. So personally, I really enjoyed this. And then it also led to the really funny like ending segment of them trying to wheel the bed around with the host at the end of the episode. But I was like, personally, I'm into this.
I'm into the bed, but I'm not into Brandon J just because he seems too young, but I'm just way too old for him. You know what I mean? So I'm just
26, right? So he's definitely younger also compared to the average age of this cast. I think like a lot of them are maybe in their later 20s at least. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know exactly what the average is, but you do have some people that are over 30 and an actual significant amount of people who are over 30. Topping up, I think the oldest person on this season is 38 maybe. So comparatively, he seems super young, but it really got me thinking like, can you imagine? We've been watching this show where like the average age is like 24 or 23 and someone even being 30 would be like, they're so old. And now like finally they have that kind of average age skew, what I think makes a lot more sense. And especially because Michelle's 29, right? She's 29 or 28. So I'm just like, 26 seems like a baby compared to people that are in their 30s at this point.
So next up is Brian. He's a tall guy. He gives her a little dip, a little dance dip. So I gave him 2.5 points for that. But that's all the points he's getting on this season. I'm surprised, actually. We have Jamari, who rips off his sleeves. He has super deep voice, which I was very surprised by.
Me too. I wrote his voice is so deep. And I guess because he has like kind of like a baby face. Like he looks younger in terms of his face, that I was not expecting his voice to be so deep, but I kind of love that personally.
I did too. I wanted to see more about him. I know he was my last pick, but we did learn he's an Aquarius, so I was like, I wanted to see a little bit more from him, especially with that deep voice. I was like, oh, I'm looking at you differently now, Jamari. So I did want to see a little bit more, but we gave him 2.5 points for having tearaway sleeves. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Where'd you find that? Or who made that for you? Next up, we had Edward. He was the wellness coach with some singing bowls. He had some singing bowls there. I gave him the 5 points. But that's all the points he's getting this episode. It seems like those 3 there don't make it through. And Leroy, he does some selfies with a Polaroid camera. Is that your guy? Yeah, he's yours.
I thought that was cute.
It's cute. Yeah. I mean, I love a good selfie. Polaroids are always a hit. We see that he uses the Polaroids later on in the episode. Yeah. So
smart to tie back. Exactly.
Exactly. I got 2.5 points for Martin, your guy Martin, bleach tips with the backflip.
Yes. Thank you, Martin.
I mean, he's good looking though. I kind of like him.
Listen, he's gonna be doing something. Okay. Like he's just not gonna be a wallflower. So I'm ready for whatever he's gonna offer. If it's more flips, if it's getting involved in drama, whatever you want, sir. But keep doing you, Martin.
So next up, and this is the last person coming out of the limo, saved by the producers, is Joe. Now, he did not have a gimmick, but I gave him 5 points for this entrance because it was a whole lot of entrance. Mm-hmm. So she's like, you look familiar. You look so familiar. You look so, and he wasn't saying like yes or no. He's like, I don't know. Yeah. And she's like, have I slid into your DMs? And he's like, is your last name Coleman? He's like, yes. And so what it seems as though is she slid into his DMs and they had a little bit of a back and forth. It was about a certain situation. I think it was about maybe a basketball team or I don't know, something. And then he completely ghosted her. Sorry. What do you think about this entrance and what were you thinking was going down? You were probably surprised by this because I had no idea that this was going to be part of the episode.
No, like I had seen before the episode aired that they had clips of like when you sent me the Ryan clip, they had a clip of this happening with Joe. This would have been after our draft. And I thought looking at it on surface that this was like gonna be a really good thing because they had connected before, but like I was like, oh, this is almost perfect because she recognizes you and she's already obviously been interested in you. If you've been messaging each other, like there's attraction there. In person, like he's obviously super hot. But then there's this whole added layer as we come to find of the ghosting of it all, which I was like worried about because that's not great, you know, like it sucks to just have a conversation or potentially be chatting with someone in that way. We didn't really know the extent of it. And then to just kind of like drop off on someone, like I've been ghosted before. It sucks. Like it's not nice. So it doesn't leave like a good impression on you if you're the person on the receiving end of that. So I was like, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting. And it was.
It is. And basically a lot of the season is going to be around like, is Joe a fraud? Like, is he going to shine? Like, you know, we'll talk a little bit later about how he explains himself, but she tells Tayshia and Caitlin, you know, that he ghosted her and they're also shocked. And so this is how the beginning of the cocktail party starts, is with that information. So she goes into the mansion / where were they? The Hyatt, another Hyatt? Like, I didn't understand where they were.
I guess it's a hotel, but the location is Indian Wells, I want to say.
Okay.
I'm not even sure where that is. Me
neither. And their journey starts now. So when she was coming down the stairs, I think she was coming down the stairs there. I'm not sure if it was that time, but was Rick in the table, was he clapping? Because everybody was like clapping for Michelle. And I just was wondering if he's like under the table, like still clapping. And I was just laughing about the idea of him clapping underneath the table. I was worried though about her falling when she was going down, like because her dress was so long and it was a lot of stairs and she was not holding the railing. And I was like, oh my God, like I was so nervous for her just to fall. I know they wouldn't show it most likely, or maybe they would, I don't know. But man, I was nervous.
Just so you know, Indian Wells is a city in Riverside County, California, in the Coachella Valley, between the cities of Palm Desert and La Quinta.
So close to where Archella was last
Yeah,
week.
because of where Archella was. It looks like they do like a big golf tournament in Indian Wells, and potentially also looks like
I've heard of
a
Indian Wells
tennis
in terms of
tournament
golf.
as well. So that is where we are at in terms of location.
Gotcha. So I gave 2.5 points to your guy Jamie for passing her the drink.
Yep.
I do feel like that's it's a clutch move because after she gives the drink, she says her toast, what she's looking for, happy that everybody's there, etc., etc. He pulls her away to talk first, and they sit down, they have a conversation. I didn't think that it went that well, but she seemed to enjoy it. How did you feel about this conversation?
I think she's intrigued. If we're thinking about what she said in the toast, and she said she wants someone who can stay open because she's been in their shoes. So in the process, she's looking for someone that can stay open, stay vulnerable, and show her their authentic self. I do think he kind of embodies that in a way. Like, it doesn't seem like he's putting on airs or trying to perform as anything. I don't know him personally or any of these people. And this is the Bachelor franchise. So we take it all with a grain of salt. But if we're going by that criteria, he seemed open. He seemed like vulnerable, I guess, in the sense that he wasn't like not sharing anything, but we don't get to know too much about him yet. And he seems to be his authentic self. So by that criteria, it fits. I'm with you. I don't know if I sense like overwhelming connection there, especially as we see with some other folks as the episode progresses. But I think he's not in a bad spot, and he made a good play by being the first person to pull her.
Yes, definitely gave her the drink, staring at her from the front, like pulls her way to chat for the first time. Talks about her smile and her spirit shining through. Like, I think that I do feel like he was genuine and authentic, like you said. But I don't feel the vibe. But I think he'll stick around for a while. I think he'll get to at least a point where he gets maybe a one-on-one date, and then see if there's like a romantic connection between them, and whether there is or there isn't would be determining whether he'd stay or not. But I like him though, more than his picture.
He'll represent that person who's like that stable, almost kind of like a Michelle was in her season, as like the stable and consistent option that like presents you like a certain path, but then is that physical, undeniable chemistry there, which is also important to be in the mix? TBD.
So the next guy that she has a little bit of a chat with is Peter. I don't remember who. Oh, your guy, Peter. I'm like, who's Peter again? I'm like, I said he's cuter. And he says he's a little bit of a foodie. So he brings her for cannolis and red wine.
Cannolis that he made. Cannolis I made.
Right. Made by way of taking out of the box or container. And she thought they were a calzone. And she was nearly going to be mistaken because a calzone is like a pizza pocket. I've never had a cannoli. I'm not really a dessert type person, but you would be a resident foodie here in that sense, being a Taurus. Have you had a cannoli?
I have. I also like my partner is Italian, so I've had a few cannolis in my life. I enjoy them. They're nice. It's not my favorite dessert. I don't know that I like a pastry. I like the cream. They're fine, but it wouldn't be like my go-to. But
is it like a flaky crust?
It's like
a cookie, like a biscotti.
No, it's not like a cookie. It's almost like it's almost like a wrapped, like it's thicker than a crepe, but it's like, or thicker than a crepe, but like that type of pastry almost. I don't know exactly what it's made out of, but it's like rolled into that shape, and then they fill it with like a cream. So it's almost like a baked, like flat thing that's rolled up.
I know what
Italians everywhere are
consistency.
Like, I apologize to everyone in Italy. It's fried though.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the cream stuff, but like I'm curious as to what is it like a What's the bite like? Is it
It's
chewy?
like crunchy. No. Like it's fried, right? So when you bite it, like it just like is crunchy. It's not chewy in that way. And then the filling, like the cream filling, is usually made like with some ricotta as well. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's very rich and like very delicious. Combo of like pastry and cream. But it's a very specific thing. And then sometimes there's like powdered sugar or a little bit around the actual pastry too. But I'm so sorry to everyone that's Italian that right now is like shrieking as I'm so poorly.
And not selling it. Not gonna lie. Not the cannoli. I'd rather have a calzone right now. No, thank you. I mean, I will try one eventually. I've just like not been a person that likes creamy desserts. I think I've told on this channel before some of my negative experiences with like whipped cream. So like I don't really love whipped cream. I don't like milky things so much. And I don't really drink animal milk that much. So it's just something that I probably would never have. I might like the crust, like the outside of it. I might like that because I do tend to like pie crust consistency. I like flaky pastry type stuff, but I don't like the idea of a cannoli. So it's just not on my list, but I would try it obviously just to know what it is.
Yeah.
But I like a carrot cake. I like a bread pudding. You know, I like a more dense desserts personally. We should do a food segment one of these days, though. We should like have like a mukbang.
My such good food description that I just.
Ooh, Natalie's coming in here with a hot take here. Natalie thinks that Peter will be a villain.
Yeah,
it looks like it.
It looks like he's the person that throws the jacket into the pool, which I was also so excited to see at the end of the episode. Also so petty, already not even knowing the context of that. The fact that leads to, I think is it Will's jacket maybe? To him like lying killed me. I was like, I'm really looking forward to that mess once that occurs. Peter's the Aaron energy of the season right now.
I can see that, yes. And on your team, you know how to pick them, absolutely. So Michelle goes to pull Joe, and so everybody's like, oh my god, who's she pulling? Who's she pulling? What's happening? And so she goes and talks to Joe, and Joe, what he says, if I can paraphrase, is that basically at that time he was working at George Floyd Square, and you know, with what was going on in the world at the time, he was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and he didn't handle their conversations back and forth very well. And I personally loved how Michelle dealt with this, being like, I understand that this was a very traumatic time. It was a traumatic time for me. You know, she mentioned like, yes, you're a Black man. I can understand that it was a very challenging time for you, like for her students. And she kind of related that she could have been somebody that he turned to instead of turned away from, and that she would have been completely open and like not asked anything of him other than just a little bit of respect. And so I loved how she laid it out there, but also laid it in a way that didn't scold him for how he treated her. He should just kind of like, this is how I wish that you'd handled it, because it makes me wary of how I want to proceed with you moving forward, because is this a pattern on how you would treat me in the future? So I loved how she handled it. What did you think?
Totally agree. Because really all she was asking for was that in some capacity could have been communicated to her. Like holding that they're both from Minneapolis, or they're both from Minnesota. I don't know if she's from Minneapolis, but either way, being in Minneapolis at that time, I can't even imagine, right? Like, so I think she wasn't asking for a detailed explanation. She just would have heard him had he given any type of communication, and that was really what she was hammering home, and that she would be understanding of something like that had she even had any inkling that was why. And I think that was totally valid and justified, while still being very empathetic to what he was experiencing and going through, and not dismissing whatever that was for him. But also being like, if we're gonna move forward in any way, like you need to communicate with me. And I actually loved how she handled it. I think it was really, really well spoken, and she's really good about being clear about those things. And because she's a teacher, I'm just like, she knows you can't like let things fester. You just have to address it, and you have to, like, I don't know, have some kind of clarity going forward about what's going to happen, some expectation that's set. Very teacher-like, but like in the perfect way in this context.
And Joe also does mention that he, with what he was experiencing, he has been going into therapy. And so she recognized that it would be hard to admit that out loud as a Black man, especially, she was mentioning. And I do love how she does see him. And like, I felt, if I was him, I know he's probably like, oh, I might have messed things up here. Like things might not have gone well. But I do feel as though she's a very kind woman, and I thought that how she handled him was really nice. And I am happy in the end that she, spoiler alert, does keep him, because I do hope that he can prove that he can overcome this, and that it was just, a bad timing. I really hope so.
Every right to be suspect about the fact that he's emerging in this setting after the impression that was made. But on paper, the common ground that they have could be the foundation of something really, really good if it goes in that direction. So I think she made the right call ultimately. We'll see if it was, but I was also happy that he stayed, not just because he's on my team, but I also I liked him. Even in spite of what we learned, I did like him as an option for her.
Hundo. Then our guy comes back. They roll Rick in and interrupts, I believe it was Spencer, who was sharing a poem. And he does finally get out of the table. So I'm just going to give Rick some commitment, 2.5 points here, just for being rolled out to interrupt a date. And then actually having a little mini date with Michelle where they can actually talk and get to know each other a little bit better. So he wanted to make her laugh, and he wanted to do something memorable. And you know what? They always will have this. Like, if they were to get married, like, can you believe that you actually like came out with it under a table? Like, it could make for a good story later down the road if they were to be in a relationship. And so I'm okay with Rick in the table.
She said that she had chemistry with him, so
he is an Aries, so that makes sense. Aries and Gemini do work well together. Air and fire. Charlene found Rick to be creepy, though, in the table until he came out of it, but he stayed the first night. Memorable. So yes, it was memorable. She has chemistry. He seems to like her. I worry about his confessionals, though, because he seemed to be really into her, and I'm just kind of like, you don't know her very well. Like, why are you so invested? So that does worry me, that he might be a little bit of a clinger. But we'll see how it goes. We'll give Rick a chance. I love how Rodney gets called out by Michelle for not knowing about his apples. So
she told him direct. She was like, okay, so let's go back to what you said about the Granny Smith of it all. That is the only green apple. Like, just listed off like 10 other red apples, and I was dying. I was like, yes, she's funny. She's really funny.
And I felt validated for the fact that, like, that was my first instinct when he said, like, Granny Smith. I was like, what? And so, like, when she said that, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, she caught that too. Like, I'm happy that she didn't let it slide. I would never have let that slide, you know? So I was happy he got called out there. We're giving another 5 points now for your guy, Ryan, because he thinks he is amazing in his confessionals. He thinks he's hilarious. He thinks he's a front runner. They do have a conversation, and he talks about how he coaches for the Special Olympics. They had a little mini ice cream date. She felt that there as a spark. And then while Michelle is talking to Leroy and he's showing her the Polaroids that they had taken, Caitlin and Tayshia cut in to tell her about the ice cream truck man, Ryan, and all of his notes that you've already shared with us. So Michelle goes and pulls Ryan, and the guys are recognizing this, and they're like, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. So she actually gets him to take him to her room and show her the notes. And I love this. I felt it was very fourth wall energy because she's wearing this like ball gown in a setting where like you don't usually see these things. It definitely was like behind the scenes. I loved this part of it.
I loved her dismissing him from the room so that she could read the papers in peace as he was like hovering, being like, what do you want me to explain? Like, what do you want me to do? She's like, just go. He's like, should I go outside? Yes. Like, go. And then my favorite part about all of this, other than like the fact that he couldn't keep his story straight and thought that he was so cool, yet this guy's like sweating like crazy and looks very anxious, actually, if you really think about it. He goes, there's tips from his girlfriends about like what's bad about his personality and that he's like overconfident or whatever. And I was like, were his girlfriends trying to sabotage him? Like, were his friends hate Ryan? Like, his friend's wife is just like, I actually can't stand Ryan and I want him to fail on The Bachelor. Like, I just like, this is not come across well for you, man, in any way. Like, no matter how you slice it, there's no way you can explain this at all that would lead to any other result here. Like, you have to let him go. You have to.
Oh my God. Did you notice the music though? It was like Inception. It was like, I was like, oh my God, this music. Like
they discovered something so major. Meanwhile, just his typed up notes about The Bachelor. Yes.
Wow. So it was pretty amazing. I loved her life. So she comes out of the room and she talks to him, who's like standing in the corner of the hotel like hallway. And she's like, I'm not okay with starting a relationship out on red flags. Bye. I'm gonna walk you out. I was just kind of like, well, to like leave his room to go walk him outside so like he could like go back to his hotel room. I thought that was funny because I was like, he's out.
But yeah, I guess. And what I loved most about this, and many people could take a page out of Michelle's book here. This is like the customer service specialty. This is like the professional way of going about it. Don't give them much more to go off. Repeat the point until they get it and they go. So when he was trying to say, but, she was like, I'm asking you to leave now. I've made my decision. And you just have to be clear about that. And I loved it. It didn't leave any room for us to listen to him giving excuses or blah, blah. It's like, nope, that's how I feel. And I'm actually not going to give you anything further explanation-wise than that. I love it.
I've already wasted my time.
Yeah, like that's it.
So they left his room. She walks him out. He leaves and he goes and it looks like he sits on an apple box. Like, I guess he's waiting for his limo. Like, I don't know, because they left his room. So she goes back into the, I guess, the resort, and she addresses the group. And I love how she quickly flipped it. Because like what we've seen in the most recent seasons is when something like this happens, like, I'm canceling the cocktail party. And I'm just like, no, like, why are you canceling the cocktail party? She's like, shaking this off, notes, whatever, he's gone. I still want to get to know you guys. And I just love that she just wanted to get that cocktail party back up and running. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelle talks to Nate next. And it started off a little bit awkward because he's like, well, I don't really want to, get into family. And she's like, I want you to get into that stuff. And so I really enjoyed, though, the fact that he took a deep breath and he kind of started to explain what he was going through. You could tell that he was really nervous about talking about it. I think the idea that she came from a family that their parents are still together, and he did not have that same kind of upbringing. He mentions that he never saw his parents kiss ever. So there's not a lot of affection that he witnessed. And he shared this with her, and him being willing, starting off with like, I don't want to share anything, to sharing some vulnerability, I think really endeared her to him. And Nate, this is a good call. Good choice in opening up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like Nate.
I don't know. I could really like, I can understand, especially, you're coming into it and she's given this whole speech about how, her parents have been together for 33 years and something that she looks up to. And like, I can relate to being a person who has very different experience of that in their household. My partner has that type of family like Michelle's, where it's like, oh my God, the love is so real. Everyone's so close and blah, blah, blah. When you're not, it's almost like a point of feeling ashamed maybe, or I don't know, like, how can I live up to this standard when like that's not what my experience is? But I think like his ability to be vulnerable in that situation was really nice, and I think that she received it really well. So I understood. I'm curious about his development as potentially the villain of the season based on the preview, because it does seem like people are questioning his intentions being there. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. But this like reveal, or him like letting his guard down in this moment, didn't feel like contrived to me. It felt, I mean, as not contrived as you could possibly be filming a segment on this show anyways. But yeah.
I liked it too. So after this little mini date, Caitlin brings out the first impression in Rose. We see Brendan, Jay, your guy. To me, he seems too smooth, but she seems to like him. Rick feels really confident that he might be getting the first impression rose. Peter, you're not getting the first impression rose. Peter feels like he might be getting the first impression rose, but it is Nate. So Nate, my guy here, gets 2 5-pointers because he gets the first impression rose and he gets the first kiss.
Yes.
Seemingly, of the season. And it looked like they both enjoyed that kiss. So, and I wasn't feeling uncomfortable watching it. So that means that there was a connection there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing it
occur. And he was really excited that he got the rose. Like, he was like, this is the best night. This is the best cocktail party ever. It was cute. The kiss seemed to come seamlessly out of that excitement. So
Canadian, eh? Yes, Canada.
There you go.
So how do you feel about the rose ceremony location? I was just like, oh.
Strange. Okay. Very strange. And I like that at this point, they're not even trying to pretend like it's still nighttime. As we say, like, daytime. It was a weird location. I don't know. It's like an interesting building. I guess the architecture and like the way that building looks on the interior is kind of super different from a lot of their normal settings. I mean, I prefer this to like whatever was happening at La Quinta or whatever was happening at like Katie's barren, dry resort. So cool. It just didn't look very Bachelor-y to me.
Yeah, it didn't look very Bachelor to me. I can get used to it, I suppose. But it didn't seem like a rose ceremony. Like even the angle of it all, like I don't know why they didn't box them in. They could have made a bit of a set for them. So I thought it was a little bit weak, but maybe they're leaving. Maybe it's just for this first episode. Maybe they're going to be gone right away, so they don't want to build an entire set.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it definitely stood out as like interesting. Okay, choice. So Joe is, of course, nervous because of the conversation that he's had with her. Dabu here says, I don't get Joe. Why come on the show if you already have means of communication to Michelle and live in the same city? Well, maybe he was like, oh my God, I fucked it up with that woman. And, you know, now I see that she's a bachelorette. You know what? This might be an opportunity for me to talk to her now. And like, I do want to start something with her, but like it wouldn't have, I don't know if she would have said yes to me if I slid back into her DM. So maybe he just saw it as an opportunity to reconnect with somebody that he screwed up with. I don't know.
I think it's totally valid to think that it's a red flag though.
Oh my God.
Don't really know. So it's like,
I would be worried.
Like, yeah, you got to question it. You got to question anybody that chooses to come on these shows to begin with,
Sure.
even the most authentic of people. Because I'm sure there's, very few people that exist that have gone on this that are seriously looking for a partner. And I don't want to take away from that. But as we learned from Paradise, especially, and Katie's season, and, like the way it's been since social media has been ever looming on this show, is a lot of people are there for other reasons. So I think it's fine to be skeptical of his motivations for sure. And I think that's what Michelle seems to be really wrestling with herself, is like, do I trust or do I not trust? Do I feel like opening that door or not? Like, do I just cut now and not worry about it, or do I pursue and see what happens? But like,
I wouldn't. What happened is Joe decides that he wants to go on The Bachelorette. It happens to be Michelle. He tells the producers, like, because in those forms where you have to fill it out, like, do you know anybody? Have you met anybody that's been on the show before? Like, they ask you all those questions. So if he hears it might be Michelle, he might be like, well, I'm in the same city as Michelle, and like I have had this interaction before. I'm wondering if the producers are kind of like, let's bring you on in here. That seems like a good storyline to bring through. Like, maybe he didn't necessarily come on with the intentions of it being Michelle, and that it was revealed, and then they wanted to use this as part of their storyline. So
it's definitely possible, because he's obviously like super attractive and would be a good casting choice, period, right? Like, yeah, he's a good option for this show. He looks exactly like the type of man that you want to have on here. It's just like dreamy, like guy who seems to be like pretty down to earth, normal, like however we want to slice it. So like, I totally get the casting choice, and that perspective is also true. Could be possible.
So we go through, she thanks all the men. We go through the people that she keeps. So quickly to run through, we have Jamie, Leroy, Martin, Spencer, Rick. He does get through. Clayton, Peter, PJ, Malik, Romeo, Daniel, Brandon J, Will, Chris S, Rodney, Alec, Party, Chris G, Casey, Olu, LT. When you come back, Tanya, I want to know if you think that LT accepted his rose wearing pants or not. And Michelle decides she needs to take a second to go think about Joe and whether or not she wants to give him a rose. Why are you popping up now? All of these questions that we are questioning ourselves as we're watching. But in the end, she comes back and she does give Joe the final rose. I will give Tanya here 5 points. I think a new point category is getting that final rose. We might have had it last season, but I stopped counting these points because I was losing so miserably last season. So Joe gets 5 points for getting the rose at the rose ceremony. So the men that have left now are seemingly Brian, Edward, Jack, Jamari, Ryan, Brendan, and Garrett. The other Brandon are the people that left this episode, and she says that she sees in you that she wants to explore, and that's why she kept all those people there. Seems like 7 people have left this episode, 4 from my team, 3 from yours. I thought it was more unbalanced, to be fair. I thought like I had like all of the people gone, and I was like, oh, people, okay, we're kind of even now. So they cheer to really beginning this journey. Mm-hmm. So great first episode, great beginning. I know that you have to go, so we will wrap it up. We can talk about that super trailer anytime. It looks really good. Thank you so much, Tanya, for being here. I'm frozen. Obviously, I'm frozen right now.
It's okay. I can hear you.
You can hear me. Great. Well, it was great being here. I don't know if I can stop this though right now. The spinning rainbow of death. Tamika says justice for Jamari. I can't pull up the chat anymore. But Tanya, if you want to slip out, you can do so while I try to handle this this link.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. I think Michelle's going to be a great lead. We've been waiting for this for a long time, so it's really nice that it's actually happening now. And yeah, I'm curious. I'm optimistic about where this could go. And I know many times I say this to start and then things change, but I don't know. I'm just choosing to remain hopeful about this season. Chantele maybe
Yes, me
just
too. I'm excited to see. Well, I feel like I'm here, but just say goodnight, Tanya, and I'll try to close this if you can hear me at all. Can you hear me? No?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Take care, everyone.
Okay.
We'll see you
So
next
yes.
week.
Oh, there I am. Yay! I
Hey.
made it. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We'll see if I'll be able to end this broadcast because things are glitching. Yes, justice for Jamari. He's going to be a lock for Bachelor in Paradise next season. Tanya, thank you for chatting with us this morning. Have a great time at work, and I can't wait to talk to you even more throughout the season for Michelle Young. Sayonara. See you guys
Bye.
later. Bye. You can just press it because I can't press the button right now. So, bye, Tanya. I'm trying, guys. I don't know what's going on here today. We ain't working. It ain't working. Okay, there you go. Bye.